Hey guys, it's Mrs. Narubin. I hope you are having a good weekend. While my son is taking his little nap, and it's kind of a crappy day outside, lots of rain finally. I figured I would just kind of do a quick voiceover of the notes for today, Monday. Kind of try and keep it pretty simple. I'm going to work a work day in probably on Thursday where you guys can literally just use the day to catch up on anything that you've missed for my class or any other classes. So you don't have any other expectation other than to sign in for attendance on Thursday. And we'll kind of use that. I'll see if maybe I can get like a live Q&A session or something going so that you guys can kind of let me know if there are any grades that you feel like need to be updated and such. All right, so here we're looking at human impact and how humans exist in the biosphere, and essentially, how we use our resources. So you guys have probably heard about renewable and non-renewable, kind of all throughout your school age time here. Renewable resources are resources that can regenerate or be replenished. They all take different amounts of time throughout the cycle of the earth to replenish and regenerate. And so we would consider them non-renewable if the cycle that naturally occurs with these resources happens too slowly compared to how we're utilizing them. So they're not completely unlimited, but dependent on how much water, for example, water is renewable. Dependent on how much water is in the air and in the area, if we're experiencing drought in a certain area, it's not completely unlimited. I watch the news every morning now just to kind of get some clarity, know where we are, see if there's any new recommendations. And through the weather and spending a lot more time outside these days, I've really started paying attention to what they have to say. And they're saying that we're experiencing a ton of drought in just the state of Florida right now. So I am extremely thankful for the rain that came today. Next is non-renewable resources, things that cannot be replenished or things that just take too long in their, natural cycle for us to use sustainably. Oil and things like that, that's an example. Along with natural gas, fossil fuels are what create our oil. So sustainable development is a way of using those resources to make sure that we meet our needs, but we don't deplete it. Here are a bunch of different types of resources, how we use them, what impact we're having, and then how are we trying to sustain them so that we can use them for a long period of time. Land resources, we live on the land, so it gives us space. It also allows us to have raw materials like trees and plants, as well as give us area to grow different crops and plants, feed our animals and things like that. How we affect it, we plow the land and remove roots. You want to, if you cut something down, keep the roots in there. They will decompose, which we know puts nutrients back into the soil, but also they kind of hold everything in place in the ground as a net to help prevent soil erosion, which would happen when topsoil is moved around by water and wind. Soil erosion is huge along the Florida coast. That's why you'll see a ton of mangroves or little sand dunes that have signs to protect them, because those are essentially what are helping our beaches stay where they are. Desertification is when fertile land turns to desert, which means that you can't use it for crop production or anything like that. So how do we try and sustain it? We replant trees for when we cut them down. A lot of laws are out there. If you cut a certain species of tree down, you have to replace it with another like species just to kind of maintain that. We know that trees are essential for maintaining our air and oxygen and kind of helping balance out all the emissions and things like that that we put into the earth and into the atmosphere, so that we make sure we have a good balanced system. Instead of leaving soil barren, some farmers will plant a different crop that will add some sort of nutrient to the soil. You can also see down here they have different crop patterns. You can see this is like a very hilly terrain. So to help kind of keep everything from just kind of sliding down, they plant different crops that will kind of keep it in place. And they call that contour plowing. Forest resources, we use wood for homes, paper, we burn them for fuel and heat. but we know that they are essential in the photosynthesis and cellular respiration cycles where they help to provide oxygen and help moderate our climate. Forests also give home and food to animals and limit soil erosion, but we, participate in deforestation when we cut down trees and cut down forests. So if you travel on 275 towards like the Bradenton area, there's a lot of tree farms. So that's just kind of something local. But we use them to replant, cut down trees, cut down our mature trees versus the younger ones so that they will kind of grow to be healthier. And then a lot of people have improved tree genetics, which helps trees to grow faster. I mean, that's great and all, but in my own personal opinion, if we have to change the DNA of a tree for it to grow faster, I think the problem is that we're cutting down too many trees, and maybe we should look there instead of trying to figure out how to cover up something that we're doing with a Band-Aid. That's my own personal opinion. Fishery resources, obviously it's food for us and animals, but we overfish, all right? That's why we have limits on type size. There's, certain species that are in season versus not. And local agencies go and, measure the different populations all the time. Aquaculture is a new way of raising fish so that we can consume it. They have different farms where you can grow fish in essentially like little pools or tanks or holes in legitimate like farm ground. Or you'll see sometimes like shellfish or some other fish being raised in nets out in freshwater as well. Air resources, the air we breathe, smog, pollution and fog, acid rain from pollution, burning of fossil fuels, and just general human behavior. How can we improve it? We try and reduce the burning of fossil fuels by carpooling, driving less, walking, riding, all those kinds of things. More eco-friendly cars that don't put out the types of emissions that we're used to. Or filter pollutants from the air before we release it. So for example, at like the county dump, they have scrubbers that are part of the plant. So we burn garbage for energy, and then all that kind of gets released somewhere. So they put different filters and scrubber cisterns on there to try and limit what pollutants actually get into the atmosphere. You guys have probably heard about the greenhouse effect since, middle school, but greenhouse effect is normal, and it's actually what keeps our planet at like the right temperature so that we can survive and things can grow and things like that, to where it wouldn't be, 30, 60 degrees colder here. It is the normal warming effect produced when gases like carbon dioxide and methane trap heat in the Earth's atmosphere. Oops, wrong way. Okay. The issue that we run into with the greenhouse effect is when we produce more pollutants that are either causing holes in the ozone layer or are just kind of amping up climate change. And there'll be an activity for y'all to do this. We can learn a little bit more about that. And then freshwater resources for drinking, washing, watering crops. We pollute the waters. Truthfully, we pollute the waters with fertilizers and sewage, just garbage, and it causes contamination. So trying to conserve water. A lot of people use rain barrels around here because we have so much rain, and they use that in the summertime to help with watering lawns. And then trying to protect a lot of our local waterways like the swamps and wetlands. And what they do is they help kind of serve essentially as a filter before things get out into the ocean. And then we need to be conscientious about what we're dumping into our water. If you guys have heard anything from about probably at least 7 or 8 years ago, the BP oil spill, that was horrible when it came to how we were affecting our waters around us. So there's lots of limits on that now. And the last thing in here is just talking about human population growth, because this all plays into our human impact. The more humans there are that aren't living in sustainable ways are contributing to all these different impacts that we're talking about. So just kind of something interesting. Here you can see it says that we are adding 82 million people a year. And in 2005, the population's at 6 billion. And so that is about 15 years ago right now. So we're going to have to do a little activity to figure out how many individuals there actually are But again, we see this exponential growth and what allowed us to be able to do that. All right, guys, have a great one. I'll talk to you all soon.